So I've been using the Nintendo Switch 2 for about a month now, and during that time, I used it just about every single day and played a ton of Mario Kart World. In this video, I'll talk about the new features, compare it to the Switch OLED, and answer the good old question, is it worth buying? So let's get started. Okay, here's the box, and it comes in that Nintendo Red with pictures of the Switch 2 all the way around. I opted for the Mario Kart World bundle, so there's a small logo in the corner. Inside, you'll find the Switch 2, the left and right Joy-Cons, Joy-Con grip, a 60-watt power adapter, and USB-C cable. And unlike before, the cable is removable. Next, we have the upgraded dock, which is more rounded and thicker thanks to the built-in fan. Inside here is an HDMI cable and Joy-Con straps. If you choose the bundle, you'll also get a code to download Mario Kart World. I already redeemed it, so don't even try. Alright, holding the Switch 2 is really nice. It feels like a big boy handheld rather than a child's toy. It's now in this matte black finish, and the joysticks have that neon blue and red for a nice pop of color. I also noticed there's some glitter sprinkled around throughout the console. Not sure if you can see it on camera though. I've seen other videos, and the Switch 2 didn't look that big, but after using it in person, it's actually bigger than I thought it'd be. Here's the Switch OLED for comparison. And here's the PS Portal, and the 11-inch M4 iPad Pro with the Razer Kishi V3 Pro XL. Everything is bigger: the screen, Joy-Cons, buttons, joysticks, and even triggers. Along the top, we have the same placement as before: power button, volume, air vent, an additional USB-C port, headphone jack, and a game card slot. There's also a built-in mic for game chat. On the bottom, you'll find another USB-C port and air vents. The back has a Switch 2 logo and kickstand. It looked a little flimsy at first, but is quite sturdy. The stand supports a wide variety of angles just like the Switch OLED. You'll also find a microSD express card slot for expandable storage. These have faster read and write speeds for the Switch 2 games, but they're more expensive. You know what else is expensive? The Switch 2, which retails for $450, a 150% increase compared to the original Switch, not including inflation. These have been out of stock since launch, but if you want to try and order one, I'll leave some links in the description box below. So the Joy-Con 2 are basically identical to the original model, but bigger, as well as this new C button for game chat. The left blue Joy-Con has a usual minus button, joystick, arrows, screenshot, and the L and ZL triggers on the top. The triggers are noticeably bigger and wrap more around the corner. The right red Joy-Con has a plus button, BAYX, joystick, home, C, and the R and ZR triggers. If you haven't noticed, there's no more sliding mechanism. These just snap right on with magnets, which is pretty cool, and a lot easier to attach or detach. Now all you do is line it up, and boom. And how satisfying is that sound? On the back of the Joy-Cons, there's this quick release trigger that reveals a little nub, and that pushes the Joy-Con off the console. I was worried about how strong the magnets would be, but from my usage, the Joy-Cons did not fall out. You can remove them without pressing the trigger, but it'll take quite a bit of force. The inside of each Joy-Con color matches the inside of the console, so you know which one goes where. But you can actually attach them upside down or backwards. I guess it's to prevent kids from damaging the Switch 2. On the inside, you'll find a larger metal SL and SR buttons, which is for that magnetic attachment. There's also a sync button and sensor, but more on that later. As for the Joy-Con grip, it works the same way, but with magnets. It turns the Joy-Cons into a more ergonomic controller, but there's no back GL or GR buttons on here. Only the charging grip and Pro controller have it. Unfortunately, Joy-Con 2 doesn't have holofix sticks, and I read they're still prone to Joy-Con drift. It's still early, but I'll see how they hold up over time. Also, the thumbstick grips are already wearing off. I keep my hands clean, so I might have to get those caps or something. Before I played any games, I did a system transfer for my Switch OLED. I do have Nintendo Switch Online, so my game saves were backed up to the cloud, but some games like Pokemon don't support it. The transfer is pretty straightforward, and it took about 5 minutes. All of my games transferred over, including any screenshots and video clips. The only thing that didn't are all of my games, so I had to re-download them. The Switch 2 has a larger 7.9-inch screen compared to the Switch OLED 7-inch screen. When I saw it was an LCD display and not OLED, I was a little disappointed, but after using it for a bit, it's actually not too bad. It's 1080p, 120Hz, and supports VRR and HDR. The screen is brighter, especially with HDR, and the colors are vibrant. The only downside with this screen is that the black levels are a little more on the gray side, and the bezels are uneven. Maybe there'll be a Switch 2 OLED in the future, but for now, it's still a good screen. Also, the viewing angles are decent, but I normally play single player games, so I'm looking at the screen head on. To give you an idea how both screens compare, I have a few games running side by side. Nintendo stated there's a plastic screen protector already installed, but I added a glass one since I like to take extra care of my new tech gadgets. And just underneath the screen are two front-facing speakers. They're good enough, but let me know what you think. Exclusive games is probably the #1 reason you want to pick up a Switch 2. But as of right now, there's a couple of Switch 2 games that take full advantage of the new hardware. The biggest one is Mario Kart World. This game runs in 1080p at 60Hz with HDR. It's a lot of fun driving on those new courses and playing the new Knockout Tour. I finished all the cups with a gold trophy, so I'm just waiting on an update for 200cc. 150 is a little slow for me. The other game, or more like a demo, is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. And yes, I paid $10 for this. It should have been included for free, but here we are. The game is a detailed overview of the Switch 2 and its features. You walk around and explore the different parts. There's even quizzes and mini games. Switch 2 exclusive games will cost anywhere from $70 to $80. Games are getting pricey, and there's a whole digital-only key card, so you don't actually own the game. And if you're a physical game person, game cards are now red with faster read speeds. Most Switch 1 games are compatible on the Switch 2. They'll load faster but look a little fuzzy. It'll be a 720p resolution, upscaled to 1080. There's also some Switch 2 Edition games or updates which are upgraded versions of the original. Some of these will be a free upgrade, while others will cost $10 to $20. I have Pokemon Scarlet and Super Mario Odyssey. These games run at a higher resolution with improved frame rates. Other games like Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Super Mario Party Jamboree will have additional content including new levels, camera tricks, and mouse support. And the last type of games are remasters or ports from other consoles. Bravely Default Flying Fairy is an HD remaster of the 3DS version. I played this JRPG game before, but everything is a lot sharper and there's some nice updated features. Games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Hogwarts Legacy are available on other consoles, but it's a first for Nintendo. I don't own these games, but my guess is that they'll be optimized to run well on the Switch 2 in exchange for less detail. I'll need to see how Final Fantasy VII Remake plays on the Switch 2. Donkey Kong Bonanza will be released later this month, and there's also Pokemon Legends Z-A, but that's also for the original Switch. But no matter what type of game you install, internal storage has jumped from 32 to 256 gigs. Battery life on the Switch 2 is okay. I was able to complete Grand Tour on a single charge. I did time it once, and one cup took about 20 minutes, and the battery drained about 12% with brightness set to 50%, so that's about 2.7 hours on a full charge. The Switch 2 will charge up to 25 watts, depending on what you're doing. And you can use any one of the USB-C ports to charge. It doesn't charge any faster if both are in use. Something new for the Joy-Con 2 is mouse controls. Once you remove them and place them face down, you can use it like a normal mouse. And it'll work on a desk, pants, and with or without the Joy-Con straps. And from my limited testing, it's very accurate. On the home screen, a little cursor pops up, and you can move it around and select something by pressing the triggers. That Welcome Tour demo has a minigame to try mouse controls, and Bravely Default has two minigames, one where you pilot an airship, and the other is a rhythm cheering one. Mouse controls seem cool, but there aren't many games that support it right now. Once there are a decent number of games, maybe I'll start using tabletop more. I've been using TV mode a lot because the Switch 2 supports 4K when docked. Like I said before, the new dock is rounded and thicker. There's a Switch 2 logo on the front and two USB-A ports on the left side. If we remove the back cover, there's an AC adapter, HDMI out, and LAN port. And this is where the built-in fan is. I'm using a 77-inch LG OLED TV, and Mario Kart World looks amazing in 4K and HDR. Games are limited to 4K at 60 FPS, but if you drop the resolution to 1080p, some might even support 120 FPS. Call me old-fashioned, but Nintendo games are best played on a TV. The UI barely changed at all. It looks sharper with some new sound effects. There's also a very wide pill-shaped outline around the icons. Oh yeah, this game chat icon is new, but I haven't tried it yet. So that C button opens up the menu, and there you can invite your friends and start chatting. The built-in mic will pick up your voice and remove any background noise. You can even share your screen, and if you have the Switch 2 camera, a cutout of your face will appear in-game. Game chat is free until March 31st, 2026, then it'll be locked behind Nintendo's paid online subscription. The Switch 2 has some new settings worth mentioning. Under System, you can set a 4-digit PIN to stop unwanted people from using your Switch 2. So every time you wake up the console, you need to enter in the PIN to unlock it. There's a stop charging around 90% to extend the battery's health over time. I like to keep the Switch 2 docked when I'm not using it, and this setting keeps the battery between 80 to 89% instead of 100 all the time. If colors look a little different, setting the HDR output to compatible software only will help. It's set to all software by default. Controllers and accessories is where you can map the back GL and GR buttons, and accessibility lets you remap any button. Nintendo Switch Online costs $20 a year, and if you want the expansion pack, it will be $50 per year. Switch 2 owners will have 2 exclusive benefits, Game Chat and GameCube Classics. It's a very small list right now, with just F-Zero, Soul Calibur, Zelda, and the newest one, Super Mario Strikers. The Pro Controller now has a soft finish with some gray accents. I kind of like the old semi-transparent look. The controller is basically identical, but there are some little tweaks. There's a C button on the front, the indicator lights and mic are on the top, a headphone jack on the bottom, and the GL and GR buttons on the back. And the battery life on this is incredible. I'm still on my first charge. The GameCube controller is just like the original, but Nintendo added some new buttons for the Switch 2. Along the top, you'll find a tiny ZL button, screenshot, sync, home, and C. There's also a USB-C port for charging. Both of these controllers only work on the Switch 2, but the older Pro and Classic controllers are still compatible. The Switch 2 is not a bad console. I think it's more of a Switch Pro rather than a second generation product. Right now, you're better off sticking with the Switch 1. There aren't many exclusive games, and some games are still being released for the old Switch. Let me know if you have a Switch 2 in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you'll be notified when I post new videos. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!